Silence your phone if you haven't already.
You are listening to the North Carolina Food and Beverage Podcast. Thank you for downloading and subscribing. Coming to you virtually live from high atop the historic Raleigh building in beautiful downtown Raleigh. The NCF&B takes the listener behind the scenes to tell the stories of the people that contribute to the creation of the food and beverage community of North Carolina. And now, the misfits in the dish pit, the faces of the front. They are Max Trujillo and Matthew Weiss.
Hello, and thank you for listening to the North Carolina Food and Beverage Podcast. I am your co-host, Max Trujillo.
And I am your co-host, Matthew Weiss. And all of you walking behind the stick, as we used to say, or mixing cocktails and, rustling up those beautiful libations. Time to listen, time to perk up, because we're going to be talking Fernet, we're going to be talking Nocino, Amaro, all these beautiful Italian liqueurs, but we're going to talk about it coming out of Western North Carolina in Asheville with the owner of Eda Rhyne Distillery, Mr. Chris Bauer.
How are y'all doing today?
Good, man. For those that can't see you, which it would be everybody because it's a podcast, we are coming to you via Zoom, but you are outside enjoying that beautiful late summer weather that we are now experiencing. And you're outdoors.
Absolutely. It's gorgeous up here. It's, we got full green, full sunshine, low temperature. It's gorgeous. Great time to be in the mountains. It's always a good time to be in the mountains.
Right. That's kind of how I wanted to see you anyways. And that's like your natural habitat when it comes to the idea of doing what you do and making Eda Rhyne. Maybe let's just kind of start there so those that aren't familiar with your product or products could be a little bit more familiar with what you're doing. Just for those that, like Matt was saying, Eda Rhyne is a distillery out in Asheville, but known for making Amaros, Fernets, if you will, and Nocinos. Maybe explain a little bit about what you're doing.
Yeah, so we make regional Amari out of Western North Carolina plants that we find here in the mountains. Some would say medicinal plants. Now, we can't claim to have any kind of medicinal properties to our products, but basically plants that have traditionally been used in folk medicine, which is really the genesis of European Amari and European herbal liqueurs and elixirs. We live here in Western North Carolina, which is one of the most biodiverse regions on the planet. There's a little saying around here, I haven't actually done the research, but that there's more biodiversity in 1 square mile of the Southern Appalachian Mountains than there is the entire continent of Europe.
Really?
So yeah, we have a rich abundance of native plants here. It just speaks to our region. I'm a real firm believer in this idea of regional flavors. Regional terroir is something that's thrown around. I mean, it's one of these things that on the most basic level, these are things that are growing around us. What we do is we pick all these plants that are growing around us and we use them. And it's our regional flavor. It's our regional terroir.
And you turn it into booze.
Yeah.
And we turn it into booze. And like we always have in this region, a lot of people, when they think of, Western North Carolina and booze, they tend to think of, the rich history with moonshine and illicit whiskey making. And, that is definitely a part of our history. But what a lot of people don't know about that is 1 jar, 2 jars of each run would go to the community medicine maker to preserve medicinal plants and to create medicine for the community.
Right.
That's something that's tragically overlooked when people talk about, booze making in Western North Carolina. Now they weren't making booze, they were making folk medicine, but the booze actually gave the perfect medium to extract the medicinal compounds from the plants and to preserve those plants that are really only come out seasonally. Many of the plants that we work with, we only have one chance to get them a year just because they're highly seasonal in nature.
And so your partner on this, Rhett Murphy, he owns Aardvark Farms, which a lot of the plant material you're using comes from. But so do both of you have a rich history in knowing this plant material and knowing, like, let's say, what we can distill, what flavors will be good, what might be poisonous or what might be medicinal? How do you learn that?
Well, as far as Rhett is concerned, yes, he owns Aardvark Farms in Burnsville. He's been a farmer for 16, 17 years now. He comes, his family history is pretty interesting in gardening and farming, and
he knows his land.
He knows the land for sure. He comes from that background. I myself, I come to it more from the foraging side of things. I grew up here in Western North Carolina as a kid. My pappy would take me out on hikes, and he just started teaching me about plants, just as like a matter of fact. I call it sort of a matter of fact kind of herbalism. It's just part of our life
passed down.
Yeah, exactly. It's just part of our life here in Western North Carolina because we have so many useful plants around us. So, it started there, and then just, more and more as I grew older, I just learned different things from different people. A lot of just word of mouth, verbal history stuff, hands-on. I've never really taken any kind of classes or any kind of ethnobiology studies or anything like that. It's very much been a very folk tradition for me.
So, like, as the modern day apothecary, if you will, and you're talking about these medicinal uses and all, what are we talking about? What are the ranges of things that are helpful to our body with some medicinal uses, such as the products you make?
I can't really speak to any kind of medicinal qualities of our products because that's not legal.
Okay.
But some of the plants there are a huge range of plants that have traditionally been used here for all kinds of things. From really basic stuff for like fevers,
well, I would assume like a digestif, right? Like it would help settle your stomach at times.
There's a lot of things with digestion. There's a lot of things with internal organs and strengthening the heart and broken bones and scrapes. There's really sort of
they fix a broken heart. Ooh, I like that.
Actually, there is a plant that is the specific use of the root. It's probably one of my favorite stories. I don't really think I can tell it to you because it's more of a secret kind of esoteric.
No one's listening.
Folk legend. But yes, there is a certain beautiful.
Well, come on. This is the reason we have you on here, to tell us these folktale legends.
Yeah.
There is a certain beautiful flower that grows in the mountains here. And if you have a broken heart and you know about this flower, you have to go into the woods, find the flower, which is extremely rare, and you dig it up, and you dig up its roots, and its roots are very widespread, and it's like a lace. And you take this lacy root and you make a very strong tea out of it. And before you go to bed, you will drink this tea. In your dreams, you will confront your heartache and your pain. And
Wow.
it will allow you to wake up. You will still have the memory of your pain, but it has allowed you to like face the deepest part of it and just take the heaviness away.
Your dreams to conflict resolution.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're also supposed to
that's-
chop a bunch of onions and put it under your ex-lover's bed. I think, or maybe that helps like cure the cold or something.
I say do them both.
Yeah, why not?
But yeah, there's so many different rich stories like that here, and yeah, I mean, as far as our products are concerned, I mean, I had an opportunity to live in Europe when I was younger, and I got over there, and this was sort of pre-cocktail revolution here in the United States. So I would see all these umbrellas with things like Ramazzotti on them or Chinar, or, and I'm like, what is all this stuff on these umbrellas? And then I started tasting them and really getting interested in what these crazy, Amari were, and digging into the history of it a little bit, you sort of find out this wonderful kind of secret society of, old herbalists who were creating these elixirs and claiming that they had all these amazing powers. And, it just, the light went off for me, like, oh my God, like, this is actually like what my grandparents were doing, but they weren't like putting sugar in it, and they weren't selling it,
They weren't putting it on an umbrella.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like old, mountain medicine. But, that's the root. All this folk medicine tradition, is whether it's in Italy or Germany or France, chartreuse being, one of the best examples and one of the coolest stories,
Yeah, right. That's a very European aspect, right? Making liqueurs, or if you will, with herbs. That seems like such a European with botanicals. Yeah, like you're doing that. That's not common to Americans.
No. All right. This is a tradition that is worldwide. I have been to Asia, and I have talked to farmers there. I was in Vietnam a couple summers ago. Met a farmer there who was, he would grow his own rice. Then he would ferment the rice and make his own rice liquor, soju. And then he would take that, and then he would go into the mountains, and he would find herbs to bring and macerate into this liquor. And, I just happened to meet this person. It was really wonderful. Like, I really feel like, not to sound too hippy dippy or anything, but it like a meant to be kind of moment, because, when I met him, we just instantly hit it off, and we instantly just understood each other as being people from the mountains who bring these herbs to the people. And that was like his big, vision and his role in life. His greatest role in life was that he would go into the mountains, pick the plants and bring them to the people through the alcohol. And I mean, we just had such a great time. He took me out to forage, and I mean, just wonderful, wonderful experience. And we got into all kinds of things, you know, even down to like, you know, he was using these large crocks to, you know, do the macerations and to age the these herbals with. And you know, I was just like, you know, in my tradition coming from the mountains, I mean, we've all seen the cartoons of the hillbilly with the ceramic jug with the 3 X's on it. Yeah. But, you know, the way I learned was that, you know, the best possible way to age and store your spirits is in ceramic stoneware. And, there's something magical that happens with the stoneware that really helps the aging process. I'm not sure scientifically what that is, but you know, we got off on singing the praises of the stoneware for alcohol aging quite heavily, but. Some of my favorite Amari, getting back to the international aspect of it, is from South America.
Okay, like that gives me a new perspective. You have to at least give me this. Americans haven't been making as much herbal liqueurs as, let's say, the rest of the world. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, and that's because of prohibition and the shaming of folk medicine by nurses associations and the federal government. Hey, you know, bitters. Everybody has bitters. Those bitters were what our original herbal medicine is. Most of the plants that are in those, you know, elixirs and bitters and snake medicines and all that stuff came from the woods, came from these mountains. It became illegal present these products as healing, so they sort of turn them around into cocktail bitters. And you know, there was a time in the United States when the federal government was really trying to bring modern medicine to the rural populations, and they really did a pretty efficient job of shaming people into modern medicine and making them feel stupid for using these traditional folk remedies.
Well, yeah, how else is Big Pharma going to sell their medicine, right?
Yeah.
I do want to take a quick break real quick to talk about possibly herbs or fruit or vegetables or what have you. You can skip the store, eat well, do good, and save a trip from the store by... Oh, look, even your dog wants in on some Hungry Harvest. As we were talking about Hungry Harvest, you can skip the store, get farm fresh produce, kitchen staples, and pantry items delivered right to your doorstep, starting at just $15.
Yeah, that's right. Hungry Harvest will curate a specific weekly box for you, and they do it using all local delivery drivers right here in the Triangle.
Yeah, they have conventional and organic options as well as 3 harvest sizes to choose from, so it's easy to find the right fit for you and your family.
Hungry Harvest also gives back.
Every time you receive a harvest, you're contributing to fight against food waste and food hunger in our community, and so every delivery saves at least 10 pounds of food from going to waste and supports the work of local hunger-solving organizations like Interfaith Food Shuttle with produce donations. So make sure you sign up at hungryharvest.net and use the promo code NCFB30 for 30% off your first harvest. Yeah.
This reminds me of a lot of also folks.
Folk medicine?
Folk medicine, folk tales.
Folk Foundation.
There you go.
It's right there. The Folks Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit that is coming out of the New Bern area, so on the complete opposite end of the state, but they are champions of all good things crafted in North Carolina and the folks that make them. Whether it is a vinyl album that they procured called the Carolina Quarantine Project, creating music while sheltered in place, they have that for sale on their website, or it could be their folk journal that comes out quarterly or even their new general store that's opening up in New Bern. So learn more about Folks Foundation by going to their website, folksfoundation.org, and be sure to consider a small donation to help support North Carolina makers.
All right, back to another North Carolina maker. So, Chris, I have a question because we're talking about the Amari, obviously, and that's what you're known for. Was that a marketing decision is what I'm getting to? Like, why not call it, Appalachian herbal liqueur or something like that? Because when you say it's an Amari or a Nocino or a Fernet, you are associating with an Italian liqueur. You own 2 bars. You obviously are probably very familiar behind the bar. So was that seeing a niche that you sort of needed more Amari? What was the thinking behind that?
Well, I think it sort of goes to, my love of Amari, and I've been around the world. I've there's specifically like my favorite is Fernet, and I'm I've had great Fernets from all over the world. So it's South America, Mexico. I think Amari is a classification that is Italian centric, but I think that it spans multiple countries and multiple continents actually. So what it excites me about Amari is the regionality of the flavors. Once you get outside of sort of the classic stuff you can get at every bar, and you sort of do a little traveling, do a little digging, and you start exploring like the smaller regional brands, then that class of spirit really opens up to some interesting places. And I wanted to be a part of that. So maybe our classification of it being Amaro, I don't think it was a marketing thing just as much of it as this is like a community of spirit makers worldwide that we want to be a part of, because we feel like we bring something original to the class of spirit, because of the flavors we have here. They're very distinct.
Have you had success, I'm curious, selling outside of North Carolina?
Yeah, we have had success. We just started with that, last year. And we're just now coming online we started in Georgia. We're just now coming online in South Carolina and Tennessee. We've added Pennsylvania as well. It's been great. It's sort of hard because as we started getting out of state, COVID hits, and, it really took the wind out of the sails.
Well, you had to go there. You had to mention COVID. Yeah. So now we got to ask questions about COVID. But I think, Matt and I were discussing this before we got on the call with you. As Matt mentioned before, you are the proud owner, co-owner of a couple bars out there, the Double Crown and Lazy Diamond out in Asheville. And you yourself, obviously, have probably slung a drink or two and been a part of that industry. For one, kind of just a silly part of it, why is it that Fernet is like the total industry shot? Like, if you're a chef, every chef I've ever known always wants a bottle of Fernet, like, hidden in his office desk or something like, this is for the good night, we crushed it tonight, fellas. We're all doing shots of Fernet. And every bartender I know kind of like, it's like a badge of honor to do a little Fernet shot. Typically Fernet Branca, that's like the big industry name that most people will know. But really, what is this? Why is there such a camaraderie around doing this herbal liqueur as a shot in the industry? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I think it's very interesting. I'm not really sure. I because it's good. It's
there you go.
it's great stuff.
It could simply just be that.
I just thought it was always the funniest thing, because whenever I worked in bars, it would be like, or bartending, it would be like, man, this account buys a shit ton of Fernet Branca, and then you look at the sales and like, we don't sell any, but we buy a shit ton of it. Wonder where that's going.
Yeah, it's cost of doing business.
right.
We'll say. Okay, so we were talking about this though. We have a good mind to think that many of our listeners for today's episode have probably worked behind the stick before and are currently not doing anything right now because it's all shut down. I assume your 2 bars are shut down temporarily while we are amidst this quarantine and COVID backlash. Care to discuss a little bit how that's affecting your livelihood and what's going on for you, or even just some of the community you have in Asheville in the bar scene right now?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, this is really tough. Nobody could have seen this coming. I don't know where we're going with this situation. I mean, what can you say? I mean, this is totally unprecedented. Outside of so much of it's so frustrating because so much of it's outside of our control. So whether it's like the virus itself, even truly understand what it is, and then it's outside of our control whether we open or not, whether we work or not. It's outside of our control on government assistance to help our people like make a living or have some income coming in. It's very tough. It's very frustrating.
What is most of your staff from your 2 bars? What are they doing? Are they collecting unemployment right now? Are they working?
Everybody's collecting unemployment. I mean, there's and unfortunately, I mean, with the new stimulus package hasn't been passed, and it's just everybody's just really struggling to.
It's kind of an arbitrary rule right now too. I do find it to be odd that restaurants that have a full bar can have people sit down and they can drink all night. They don't even need to order food. They just need to have a kitchen. As a guest, you could come in and be like, "Yeah, I'm just going to sit here and have 9 Fernets and I'll take the check, please." But you could do that, and so by virtue of that, just because you make food, you're allowed to be open, which kind of seems odd, and it also kind of takes it's like if we're trying to keep people safe, well, restaurants are trying to keep people safe as they dine, and I work for a restaurant, so I have to also. I'm fortunate for that situation, but it's taking like the responsibility of the business owner, like it's taking it away from them to say that you couldn't be responsible by having your guests at your bar during this time. If everybody just was socially distant, you kept to yourself, you did whatever, you wore your mask around, blah, blah, blah. But if you sat at a table or somewhere in a bar, I don't see how that's any different than just going to a restaurant and doing the same thing. So I think it's unfortunate for bartenders right now.
Well, unfortunately, I mean, in my opinion, I think as a society, we have not really handled the challenge very well. Well,
Chris, I'm sure this thought has crossed your mind, but being that you play in the botanical and medicinal plant field, one thing we do know about COVID is that it does affect your respiratory system, your breathing, your lungs, your heart. So I'm sure there's some plants that improve breathing or could potentially help with that, and that's had to have crossed your mind.
Yeah, it has crossed my mind. Yeah,
maybe the vaccine is actually in the mountains somewhere.
Maybe it's in that Eda Rhyne bottle, but we'll never know because we can't go to a bar to drink it.
No.
But
yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this vaccine comes about, and
Well, obviously for you have alternative revenue sources, and that's kind of what it's probably not alternative. It's probably primary with your distillery. So that's a nice, fortunate aspect you have there. But have you seen in your area in Asheville? We've seen some of the bars in this area in the Triangle change their model a little bit so that they can be open. And have you broached that idea at all to like be a retail space or to try to get some food popped up or something like that? Have you seen that? Have you been doing any of that?
I mean, I've definitely seen it. There's definitely been some creative workarounds here in Asheville. Personally, our bars, I mean, it's sort of a strange situation because, you know, if you sort of change gears and try to do some food, that takes quite a bit of capital.
Yeah.
Without knowing and having any idea on how long we're going to have to float these. It sort of makes it tough. It makes it a very difficult decision. It's something that we're starting to look at a little bit, but, you know, I mean, some people have, you know, suggest that, you know, bars might not be open in North Carolina until the middle of this time next year. I mean, you know, it's pretty insane. It's tough because we're going to be the last ones to open. And, you know, when this thing first hit, I told my partner, we have to secure enough money to float these bars for an entire year. That's March of 2021, because that's what the science was saying. You know, like there's not going to be. What's going to happen is by the time they're going to let you open up a bar, then another wave is going to hit, and they're just going to shut it down again. So we'll see. I have no idea, but you know, I'm just sort of trying to protect the real estate at this point, so that everyone has a job to come back to, and everyone has a bar to come back to celebrate our community once we can all be back together again.
Yeah,
and it can't happen soon enough. But I feel like my gut tells me it's going to be a while.
Yeah, I agree. Especially like you say for bars, even though, you know, we're in phase 2.5 now and other things are opening up. But the one thing that I do want to get to, back to the distillery part, I have two questions. First of all, hopefully, Eda Rhyne, it's based on a Haywood County ghost story. So can you share that with us? Because when we get together, we can start telling ghost stories again. Maybe.
Right. Oh, it's a pretty, it's a pretty long story. It is. I will say this. It's a revenge. It's like a Southern Gothic murder revenge story.
Okay.
Sounds like a new podcast.
All right.
That would get a lot of listeners.
I think it would be a good podcast. But basically, it's a story about a poor tobacco farming girl who becomes the object of desire for one of the rich boys in the town. You know, he sort of uses his father's power to get her father to allow her to come to the harvest dance with him. But she's in love with another boy, and they sneak off together and kiss under the harvest moon, and then the rich boy finds them, and he drags her away, and eventually, you know, it's just such a blow to his ego that he ends up killing this poor woman. But
totally rational, totally sane.
But then she comes back to haunt him. And so the story is all about her ghost haunting him and driving him insane, driving him to the point of suicide. And when he climbs to the top of the Mingo Falls, which is a tall waterfall here in Cherokee, he throws himself off the waterfall to quit her tormenting him. But the suicide doesn't work, and he basically lives his life out paralyzed, unable to move, unable to scream, unable
A Life of Torment.
Oh, he's like the guy in the one video from Metallica.
The Torment.
Wow.
Yes, I mean, it's pretty brutal, but yeah, I think it's a great moral tale, and horror. It's cool.
Have you ever thought about writing children's books? I cannot live. I cannot die.
So the spirit of Eda Rhyne maybe is in the spirit of the liqueurs.
Yeah, and you too can have that same haunting with a couple shots of Eda Rhyne.
Or maybe the
it
calmness of revenge. I'm not sure.
I don't think that. I think the story is really cool, but like for us, we were just trying to find, when we were first talking about a name, we were trying to find just a beautiful Southern name, very distinct. The South has so many wonderful names, just with that Southern charm and flourish of language. And we were also like, you know what, we want to have a female name because, it just seems like it's the booze industry is very male dominated, especially with the Jims and the Jacks and the, granddads and pappies all over the place. And
funny that you should say that because we're looking at a bottle of George Dickel right now, a male name, but a future guest of the show, Nicole Austin, is the distiller, a female in the business. So she's flipping it on you. We'll get there in a couple of weeks, but I find that to be...
she's great. She's great. She's actually come by the distillery. She was by the distillery last year. She's super talented. Oh my God. Like really, really amazing what she's doing, I think.
Yeah, we're looking forward to chatting with her.
So what's cool is that's kind of some part I told Matt, I'm like, I don't really have a question about this. This is more of a statement, but I'd love to know how you feel about this. As a producer of what you are making, you're not making a base spirit, or don't be offended when I say that, but I mean, you're not making like gin, vodka, rum, tequila, or whiskey per se. You're making something that could be accompanied by any one of those things, or, drinking separately, but it makes you, it positions you to be kind of like a friend to all the other distillers making these, kind of large format types of beverages, where a little Eda Rhyne and a little George Dickel could go really well together. And so, and you could say that for many other distillers as well. So you get to kind of rub elbows at these, conventions or places that we can't do anymore right now at this time. But, like food festivals, we first met at Chow Chow last year in Asheville. But that's got to be kind of a fun and a good place to sit yourself in the industry, as opposed to being like neighboring bourbon distillers that are like vying for the shelf space on the wall. It's like, no. Eda Rhyne's cool. He's there to like help our stuff. And it's kind of a nice place to fit yourself in the industry.
Yeah, it's definitely like it's definitely has its own niche. This is just this is our flavors. These are the flavors we have here. It makes it interesting to bring to other distillers, be able to talk about how our products work together, and just celebrate the craft of what we do. I would say is like probably very, very enjoying and fulfilling.
And I know that you made the boys over at Foundation, our good friends over there, who only use domestically made spirits, because they were kind of SOL when it came to Amari. So you made them very happy, and they were, I think, the first people that introduced us and said, "Oh yeah, you got to talk to those guys and have those spirits."
They're great.
Yeah, I'm sure they're big supporters. Having said that, though, you are getting into the whiskey game, correct? With this proprietary rye that you're going to be making, that's going to be the first commercially use of this rye. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, actually, from the very beginning of Eda Rhyne, since a year before we even opened the doors, we started producing rye whiskey. This has been really vision from the beginning when Rhett and I first met was producing a rare grain rye whiskey. Basically, what we've been doing is we've been, every year collecting these rare grains. We use a seashore black rye, which almost went extinct and was discovered in South Carolina by Slow Foods and Clemson University. This black rye was not farmed commercially for hundreds of years. It was used mainly as a buffer crop to protect vegetables from the wind down on the coast. But it's got this amazing nutty flavor. It's a little less spicy as other ryes, but really, really wonderful, complex flavor. We also use a single family, rare heirloom corn called Connor family corn. And that's a grain that was discovered, and it was just used by these subsistence farmers in the hills of eastern Tennessee, and they had just kept this strain of corn alive just by planting it on their family land. So we've basically been cranking out whiskey for I think it's been 5 years now. So we're just letting the barrels do the work,
right?
That's what we have to do.
Yeah. So have those been released yet?
No, they haven't. Again, we just have to let time do its thing.
Sure.
We might be a year away of releasing something. I don't know.
It's a process, right?
Really,
you're tasting them like periodically, and you're just waiting for the right moment. Is that kind of what we're talking about?
Absolutely, yeah. That's
cool.
That's the ticket. We let the barrel work the magic, and and we just keep checking back.
Well, listen, Chris, if you need our help, why don't you just send us some samples and we'll taste them for you. We'll give you some feedback. No problem.
All right,
That'd
be great. That'd be great. Yeah, I'd love to get your input.
So when you're drinking, let's just think about cocktails and mixing. I don't want to put you on the spot right now, but I'm sure you have an idea or two that does really well with some of your products. Is there a recipe or something that everybody could kind of get familiarized with your products?
Yeah, there's some really simple stuff. One of my new favorites is we have a product called Amaro Oscura, and that is a Rabarbaro, which is a sub category in the Amaro category. So it's made out of rhubarb.
Yeah,
we make it out of rhubarb and autumnal plants. So I like the Amaro Oscura with tonic water.
Oh, that's simple enough. And
very,
refreshing.
Very simple. Yeah, super refreshing, super complex, delicious. I can't get enough of that right now.
What's the ABV on something like that?
Oh, it's super low. It's super low. So I think the ABV on that product's 30%.
Nice.
It's a nice low ABV cocktail, perfect for hot afternoons, warm afternoons. Really wonderful. Another combination I've really been enjoying that's super simple is like a 50-50 Amaro Flora, which is a very complex bitter that we do. It's a very complex floral bitter, and doing a 50-50 with a East India Solara sherry.
Slow down.
And just top it off with a little bit of soda water. again, incredibly refreshing, super complex.
I don't think I've ever had an East Indian sherry. I didn't even know that existed.
No, East India Trading Company sherry. It's the brand name.
Oh, I don't know what the hell I'm talking about.
It's a yeah.
So it's a Spanish sherry then.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't the only one that thought that, by the way. There are people driving, listening, going, yeah, what?
Well, why you say that, let me just take a minute, because you can get East India or a lot of good sherries, and actually Broadbent Selections has some of the best around in the state, and you can buy them at our friends over at Triangle Wine Company, which has 4 locations, one in Cary, one in Morrisville, one in Southern Pines, and one in Holly Springs, and soon to be opening up in North Raleigh. The folks at Triangle Wine Company have all your needs, whether it be sherry, beer, vermouth, and great wine and sparkling wines from all over the world. They deliver. And also, if you use the NCFB promo code, they'll give you a nice discount. And so go to trianglewineco.com and get all your beverage and wine and vermouth needs.
You could probably get some bitters there, which would be interesting. You know, like before, like if you can't get, because you're not going to be able to buy Eda Rhyne at
unfortunately no
at a wine shop, because it is it's a spirituous liquor, so you have to get that at an ABC store. I bet distributing your product to all 100 counties is the best part of your day.
I wish we could distribute to all 100 counties. That would be wonderful.
Some legally that doesn't happen too, but as a small business owner, that's got to be a challenge too, to just get distribution into places. I would have to think, because of the nature of your drink, your product that you have serious loyalists, like people that are like, I have to have Eda Rhyne. So that helps in perpetuating like brand loyalty and sales and that type of generation. But it's not something you just casually stumble upon. You know, the early 21-year-old that's like normally buying a handle of, you know, Gordon's gin isn't saying, I also want a very sophisticated Nocino. That sounds great. But when you get there, you got them for life.
Right. I think that we have a pretty, niche market, and we definitely have a pretty solid fan base of people who, appreciate what we do. It's definitely not for everyone, but I think for people who really enjoy, especially like bitter flavors, complex flavors, they're gonna like what we do. And we've had a lot of people come through that are surprised about. They'd never even heard. They don't know what an Amaro is.
Yeah.
But we'll fix them a drink. Like a Black Manhattan. With a nice bonded rye and some Nocino. I think it's something that could maybe be intimidating to some people unnecessarily, and then once they get into it, they're like, "Wow, this is really cool."
I'll just say, for the most simple application of Amaro, is I always keep something on my personal bar at home, because every time I overeat or just have like a very big meal, I love just taking a swig of Amaro, because it helps settle the stomach, it helps digestion and everything. And so I highly recommend that. Currently, I have a bottle of Montenegro on my bar, but that's just because of convenience for whatever I have that. But I know that now I will be getting some Eda Rhyne and have that as my literally a digestive, because it helps you digest your food.
It works. This is something now that I can't. I don't consider a great meal complete without a nice Amaro after it. I mean, it's just it's such a part of the dining experience, the European dining experience, and if you're talking about the Italian dining experience, you have your aperitivo beforehand.
That's right.
And then you have your digestivo afterwards. And I just think as we become more and more educated and interested in like the culinary experience and the dining experience, that these type of products are going to be more and more popular because they really have a place at the table, and a lot of people don't maybe know about it yet. So I think there's a lot of room for people to enjoy these products and this specific class of spirits, and it just become a fun part of dining.
Yeah, man. I mean,
Absolutely.
I'm a believer. I love that. I love any excuse to say, like, this is the time we're supposed to drink. You're supposed to have an aperitivo at the beginning, and then you got to have your champagne when you get started, and then you got to have your white wine. Oh, but don't forget to have the red wine. And then there might be a beer in there somewhere just to cleanse that palate, and then, we got to have the digestif.
Got to finish it off.
Just trying to make the rules. I didn't make the rules. I'm just trying to live by them.
Yeah, well, it's so much fun. And you have it's just such a broader experience that way. It's just like, I love pizza. That's amazing. But, every once in a while, I like to sit down and have, 7 or 8 courses, 10 courses, really get in there and explore. And, I think that's what this class of spirit is really good for. Speaking of the aperitivo, we've got something coming down the pipeline now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So for the past year, I've been developing a sort of a regional take on a classic aperitivo, a classic sort of Campari style bitter.
Ooh.
Oh, that's going to be nice. Do you have a name for it yet? Are we going to see it anytime soon?
I think it could be out possibly by Christmas, maybe by spring. But right now, I think we're just going to call it the Mountain Bitter. And yeah, it's been quite a challenge as far as finding the right combination of plants that are native and local here, as well as the combination of exotics that would basically make up when you drink it, you're drinking a Campari style bitter, but it also having an individual flair and distinction.
Yeah.
A regional distinction, which is super important to us. Like, our Fernet doesn't taste like Fernet Branca. It doesn't taste like any other Fernet in the world. It's very, very distinct. And, that's just part of our vision and part of our mission. But I'm super excited about it. And, I love bitters, like aperitivo bitters. And this is just a really fun product. And we're actually, we're doing the cochineal beetle instead of the red dye. So we're actually going back to the dyeing it with the beetle.
Oh, this is like a red velvet cake. That's the same beetle that we're talking about, right? That gives that dark red color. Oh, very cool. See, bugs are great. You can eat bugs. You can drink bugs. It's perfect.
Oh, I love it. I'm really into the bug thing. I can't wait for the bug revolution to happen. I'm totally into it. Like I love all that stuff, grasshoppers and crickets and silkworms, and it's wonderful.
Because you said that, it made me think about they had the bug what was it called? There was a bug competition. It was a culinary competition. And last season, just because I'm over there at Y Hill, got to give him a shout. Chef Kyle Fletcher won the bug challenge where they cooked with bugs. I think they made a pesto, get it? And they used all that stuff. But I'm just going to give a shout out to Chef Kyle and his lovely lady Caitlin, who just celebrated the birth of their baby boy, John Knox. And so congratulations, Mazel Tov, as Matt may say, over the weekend. So
wonder if they'll be introducing bugs into his diet, come around the time he's ready for food.
Put it in the bottle.
But I'll tell you one thing that he will grow up to like, and that's ice cream. And I'm wondering, talking about finishing the meal, if maybe we could hook up proof alcohol ice cream and Eda Rhyne spirits and figure out somehow to work an Amaro into an ice cream flavor, because that's what proof alcohol ice cream does. They think differently about dessert and they make an alcohol ice cream. It's about 7%. They make beautiful flavors like moonshine cheesecake, and the most popular probably is the bourbon caramel. All these really delicious things. It's great ice cream for one, just on its own, and then it has alcohol in it. So get your alcohol and your ice cream all in one dessert. And for that, you can get proof alcohol ice cream either in Triangle Wine Company and all their locations, or if you don't happen to live near one of them, you can get them in Lowe's Food or Harris Teeter. Look for the red proof alcohol ice cream freezer. You'll find it in the beer and wine section.
Oh man, I'm thinking, what
Sounds
if you got
delicious.
some coffee ice cream and mix that with one of the Amaro, or even the black
Nocino.
walnut Nocino? Yeah, that sounds good. All right, so we're gonna have to get on.
We're gonna
that.
have to connect you guys.
You Nocino, that would be wonderful.
You seriously
Yeah.
need to do that.
We'll we'll get you one of those. We'll also we'll get you one of these NCFB hats as well. Our little podcast hat, beautiful with a nice little design by MRC, and we'll send that over to you. But thank you for being on the show. We really appreciate the time that you're spending with us. A little insight to understand more about what you do. And for those that you're going to the liquor store and you just want to spruce up what you're doing, you're bored of drinking all that stuff you've had before. Get something different. Try some Eda Rhyne. That's the sales pitch right there. Why not? Because it's delicious.
Absolutely. Chris, good catching up with you. Thank you for sharing your stories and doing what you do and making these beautiful spirits and liqueurs. So for all of you out there, like Max said, go out to the ABC stores in North Carolina and get yourself some Eda Rhyne liqueurs and spirits, and you will drink very merrily.
Thank you so much. It's been wonderful. Thanks, Kyle.
Thanks for listening to the NC F&B podcast. And if you've stuck with us this long, review us on iTunes, and remember, 5 stars are encouraged.